Hi, Jason Vaughn here again, creativepublic.com. I'm going to discuss vendors and markup. All right, with vendors, you really need to be careful who you find, especially print vendors. You really need to find one that you got a good relationship with that will also give you, good pricing and turnaround time and help you when you have problems with your project. It's a super, super important thing to establish that relationship. On hosting, it's a little bit harder because hosting is kind of a dime a dozen out there, and it's practically impossible to find a good hosting company. I use a Media Temple for mine. But there's some issues with customer service on that part, but they do fairly well. They still try to take care of you. But I work with a personal printer, and then I've got my own sales rep. Known him since we went to college together. So you try to find these types of relationships where you can establish a better rapport, and that way you're able to get your projects done. And when you do have issues, they get done much quicker. Now, with that said, we're going to talk about marking up. And I apologize, my handwriting just gets worse and worse as I get older. And but when you go and say you get a print job and you're charging, I don't know, say $800 for 1,000 brochures, okay, and you've already marked it up 20%. 20% is probably a good rate, depending on your client again. Now, the problem with printing is it's very, very competitive. Same with stock photography and hosting. But the thing is your customer is coming to you because they don't want the headache to go through the process of getting it all done. So many times they're willing to pay that extra amount of money. Now, you'll have your customers that really go out shopping and know what they do, and so you have to be really careful when you're doing with that type of business because then they're going to be looking for a competitive price. And again, you got to come back with them and talk about quality and service because that's the key thing that's going to get you the vendor account or doing their print job or hosting or stock photography buys is if you're providing good customer service and you're helping them get through the process. And the less headache they have to go through, the more they're willing to spend. So with that said, what I usually do is I mark up my printing anywhere from 10 to 50%. That's 50. Now, again, that depends. I mean, if I've got, say, I'm doing a calendar, and it's 1,000 calendars, $3,000 something base price, I believe, something like that. It's going to be real hard for me to mark that up $1,500 and get away with it. Now, some agencies do that. Some agencies are really able to charge that. I don't know how. I don't have a client that's going to be paying, 50% half the time on big ticket items. But however, if you get a business card and the business card costs you $100, then why not mark it up to $200 or even $150? $200 is probably a little bit too much, because that's a whole 100%. But sometimes you're able to get 100% off of your market. But a good rule of thumb is 30%. That seems to be a real good round figure for me on my projects, and that includes I mark up shipping. And I mark up the base price. I mark up any proofs that they've got to have as well too. So that's where I stand on marking up the vendors. Now, the biggest problem that you're going to get, like stock photography, nowadays it's just so cheap. I don't know if that's really fair for photographers. And but I guess people are making money off of it. I don't know. I just sell my graphic work for $1 or $2. It's just kind of weird to me. But it is what it is. So anyways, when you are having to go and get photography for your client, a lot of them already know that these photos are so cheap. So instead of marking up the photo, because they already know what the price is going to be, because it's they're all advertised everywhere, $5 photos, $2 photos, whatever. Start charging a research fee to research the photography, and use your hourly rate, however long it takes you to do the research for that. So that's a good way to technically mark up photography, by doing the research part of it. So that way you can kind of get away with it and start earning some money, because it does take time to research the photos. And if you're able to mark it up, definitely mark up stock photography a whole lot more. I mean, photography is a lot more valuable than what these iStock and all these other photo places are selling. So, you can really mark it up more and get away with it. And some other things I want to discuss here would be marking up hosting. Now, hosting is going to be, again, kind of a tricky issue here because there's so much out there that's so cheap. You can get hosting for $5 now. And but the thing is, what I do on hosting is I charge a flat rate of $300 for hosting to my client. And the way I sales pitch this to them is they deal directly with me if they have any problems with the site going down, need to have certain things taken care of, like an email address added. Basically, it's managed hosting to a limit. Now, I don't go and set them up databases for free and stuff like that, but this is just basic general stuff that they would normally have to handle on their own, which most of them are not savvy enough to handle. And then if there is a problem with the server going down, something not working correctly, then they have to call the hosting provider and usually get some sort of tech head that doesn't speak logical English to a normal person, lame person. You know, they're speaking all this tech language, which, you know, really gets confusing to most people, especially, you know, the customer. So when the customer now would come to me, so I'm speaking clear, non-technical jargon type stuff. I'm actually speaking clear to them, saying, okay, we need to do this, this is what needs to happen. And it makes them feel a lot more comfortable, because now you're pulling into what we draw as the customer service part aspect of your business. And that's where the customer is going to always want to do business with you, and they're willing to pay the extra price if you portray yourself as you're trying to help them and trying to do things for them. This is why you charge what you charge, because you're trying to eliminate them from having to have the headaches. And so that's how you can get away with your markups and adding these things to the final price of the product. So really consider that when you're having to mark up things for your customers, and always use the customer service aspect behind it, because that's what we're lacking in this country. It's really, really hard to find good customer service, and if you can really, really do that for your client, you're going to have a client that's going to stay with you, and they're going to pay for it too. Appreciate it. Thank you.